Good afternoon. I'd like to share on the topic of reverence. Reverence is a feeling or attitude of deep respect, tinged with awe, veneration. Reverence involves a humbling of the self in respectful recognition of something perceived to be greater than the self. So when we have this heart of reverence, usually we have this heart of reverence towards heaven, towards Heavenly Parent. Unfortunately, we are living in a generation, in an era where the younger generation have used the word, three words, I would say, that is reserved for God, for Heavenly Parent. One is awe, awesome. So young people use the word awesome, very, very commonly used word. The other word is absolutely. So it has been secularized. And the other word, third word, fortunately, is still not being used, is sublime. Okay. So these three words basically are words that basically comes from this heart of reverence. Continue. Now, it's interesting that reverence, today there is such a thing as what we call secular reverence. And for patients that have undergone a bypass, heart bypass, somehow the nurse's heart of reverence for someone who has undergone a heart bypass usually can bring recovery more quickly. So I shall, this is from Wikipedia. Reverence includes an affective, that means from the heart, as well as cognitive component. We see it as a form of positive feeling, emotion associated with injection of the sacred into various worldviews. They found that traditional religious involvement improve health outcomes, and secular reverence reduce the likelihood of post-operative complication. So religious reverence did not have the same beneficial effect as secular reverence on bypass recovery. They infer that reverence seemed to enhance recovery following bypass. So comparing secular reverence and religious reverence, it seems that secular reverence seems to help patient recover more quickly. This is from Wikipedia when you search on the word reverence. So secular reverence have been recognized as really helpful to for patient to recover from all kinds of operation. I don't know whether you know this. Mayo Clinic is a very interesting. It's very interesting how this clinic came about. So in 1883, a devastating tornado hit Rochester, Minnesota. Dr. W. Mayo, who was caring for injured victims, requested the help of Catholic sisters. When the crisis passed, Mother Alfred Moles, founder of the Sister of St. Francis of Our Lady of Lourdes, discussed a dream she had with Dr. Mayo. The dream was about two of them building a world-recognized hospital in Rochester, in Minnesota. The resulting St. Mary's Hospital opened in 1895, drew so many patients, it spawned the Mayo Clinic. The result was hundreds of basic medical innovations, but the foundation for all of them was the hard work, faith, and frugality of the nuns. So it shows that there is, how amazing this hospital came about. And today, Mayo Clinic is famous nationwide, and many patients who have terminal illness of any kind would go to Mayo Clinic to seek for treatment. And somehow it serves not only the rich, but also the poor as well. Yeah. So through the cooperation of nuns and medical doctors. So this is again showing that reverence to God by the nuns and the medical capability of doctors like Dr. Mayo and others has brought about amazing medical innovation and discovery. Now, there's a book written by this person, Woodruff. Woodruff, he specifically talked about secular reverence. And interestingly, he mentioned about musicians, like a quartet coming together. The musicians collaborate harmoniously on a shared project. Obviously, they have some reverence, that this project of creating beautiful music is so important that they would put themselves aside. The endeavor involves a sense of ceremony. Okay. They transcend personal ego during the performance. They function within a well-defined hierarchy that is agreeable to all. The collective experience a sense of inarticulate awe. So here again, how reverence can really, bring about beautiful music. Yeah. So reverence not necessarily only applies to reverence to God, but reverence to something of beauty in this sense, beauty in terms of music. Yeah. And this can bring about amazing, beautiful music. Interestingly, the confusion therefore gives us a way to embrace reverence without transcendence. That means reverence without, this worship of God. So as you know, I already mentioned that Confucius somehow basically is, finding the sacred through the secular. Yeah. And there is a book written on this very title, The Secular as Sacred. So you can see that actually this understanding about reverence, especially from Confucianism, is being, used throughout, even in the medical field. I will show this in the next slide. If you research, even in the National Institute of Health, they have one section that talks about a writing that talks about health in a Confucian context from the National Library of Medicine. And it says that familyism is a Confucian value that puts family at the center of importance and identify that the human being is not self-sufficient for leading a good life independently from others. This implies respect to family relationship, reverence for the family, more or less, mainly towards parents perceived as filial piety or family reverence, which is articulated as a starting point for the practice of benevolence. So this actually is from a publication of the National Institute of Health. Now, recently in morning devotion at Changshim one brother by the name of Stephen Chow talks about attending a medical school for 1 year, and he said that now doctors are introducing four very important aspects in terms of the medicine. Body for B, T for psychology, S for sociology, and the last S, the final S, is spiritual. So they call this the psychosocial spiritual model. Okay. Those interested can click on this link, and it talks more about what I just shared with you about using the Confucian context in terms of bringing good health from the perspective of reverence, family reverence. Yeah. So also, I don't know whether you know about Alcoholics Anonymous. Basically started by a Christian. It's a 12-step program for people who are alcoholic. So they have these 12 steps. They seek guidance and strength through prayer and meditation from God or a higher power of their own understanding. They also share with one another honestly, sharing, like confession. And also they go through a process of repentance by recognizing any kind of moral deficiency they have, moral defects, character defects, and which includes resentment, hatred. And then they have this 12 steps where they make amends to those they harm, and then also help others. So this is an amazing program that helps alcoholic recover through revering a higher power, revering the importance of being honest and confessing and repenting and helping others. And through this, they brought recovery to many alcoholics. Here again, you can see the amazing application of reverence. Yeah. Another area that I can mention to you is, I don't know whether you heard about mindfulness. Mindfulness is actually from Buddhism. Yeah. So in the medical field, especially in Boston, one doctor introduced mindful exercises for patients, and they found that many of the patients could recover more quickly than without mindfulness exercises. So today, mindfulness is being actually used in schools, especially in kindergarten, as well as in elementary and schools, where the teachers teach children to deal with their emotional outbursts through what we call mindful exercises. And also they found that teachers also that go through this mindfulness training also help them to deal with difficult students. Okay, that's another area where religious practices has been used in the secular world, and it's becoming very, very popular. Okay. I would like to suggest that we consider some of what we can contribute in the world that we live in, and I recommend heartfulness, and please think about it, from our movement, from establishing the Chonggigup. So if you consider basically some of the most important things that we shared before, and I would say in terms of ethics, Healthy societies of all races, nations, and religions arise on the foundation of morality and ethics, which in turn arise on the foundation of love. Replace that love with reverence, reverence of God between husband and wife, parents and children. This love of God in the family is a source of absolute values, and they are universally shared and taught by all religions. So this reverence of God in the family is the source of absolute values. So if you read the Bible on the word reverence, it's interesting that this is in the book of Ephesians, sorry. Be subject to one another out of reverence for Christ. And then what does he say? Wives, be subject to your husband as to the Lord. So this reverence is also mentioned in the Bible. Reverence to Christ, reverence to God, number one. Number two, reverence to your spouse. And then before, reverence to your children. So reverence basically is, you can even say so far that most of our Blessed Central family live in very challenging times. When second generation go to colleges, they revered their professors more than they revered their parents, because they do not see the same kind of reverence that the husband has for the wife and the wife for the husband. They don't see that reverence between their father and mother. So what happens is that they have more reverence towards their college professors because they are trained intellectually, and they are amazed. They're amazed by this reverence that they have to so-called knowledge. They are so knowledgeable. Yeah. So this is one of the major cause why, our Blessed Central family has not been able to capture the second generation to follow the lifestyle of their parents. I would say that is a very big contributing factor. And also reverence for the self. Reverence for yourself. When you experience your precious, awesome, and this is from true parents, true father's words, when you experience your precious, awesome, and lofty value, which can bring love, peace, happiness, and the ideal even to God, you can praise yourself and feel reverence for yourself. So reverence for yourself comes from by having this reverence to God. And then what comes back to us is that we feel reverence for ourselves. So the famous, one famous mathematician has this to say: above all things, reverence yourself. Yeah. So reverence of self comes from, first, we have this reverence for God. Without having reverence for God, you cannot have reverence for yourself. Yeah. So one of the Jerry Civito, that taught many years divine principle to second generation at GPA, has many times said to me that he found that many of second generation have very, very low esteem, low confidence of themselves. And you know the reason why. Reason is because there's no reverence to God, no reverence to a higher, person, higher purpose than myself. Once you do not have the reverence for God, you don't have reverence to yourself. You have very low esteem and low confidence. And this is what True Father has to say. Only if you truly yearn, now that we are asked to pray at Chongshim 1, this is very important. If you truly yearn for God, if you truly yearn for God, can you pray? Then can you pray all day long? Without that yearning for God, it's difficult to pray, Even for 20 minutes, it's difficult. You have to yearn for him more than for people. Your heart of love and reverence for him should never waver. So that is from our true Father. And at such times when, that we have this indescribable feeling, thirsting for a heavenly parent, like a hungry baby wanting his mother's milk. At such times, although others are unaware of it, you will subtly receive spiritual food. You feel embraced by God's presence of heart of love. Yeah. So that is basically, so reverence becomes a word that we should use much more than the word love. Because after the fall, we lost the ability to receive love and to give love and to love. So, but reverence is something that can be cultivated. In the secular world, they have applied this sense of reverence, in a wonderful way. So it's something that can be cultivated. And once cultivated, the result can also come in a secular way. And also, if we apply it in our life, we can feel the depth of God's heart and true mother's heart as well. Thank you very much.